Alright, what is up everyone? Sorry for the late upload. I want to lie and say that I had to work today, but instead I had some other stuff that I had to take care of. But yeah, we got the Game 12 review between Ding Liren and Ian Nepomniatchi. For those of you who already know the results, you know that this was pretty crazy. For those of you that don't, pretty much, I'm not going to spoil it, but the score is, oh god, what is it, 11 games so far, so it's 6-5 in favor of Ian. And there's 3 games to go, pretty much. And yeah, Ian needs like one more win, pretty much, and he's got it like in the bag. Not exactly, you know, it's like 99% chances in the bag, but if he gets a win here, he's pretty much set. If he gets a draw here, you know, he has great chances. And then obviously a loss brings us right back to the center, where Ding needs another, where it's even then at that point. But anyway, without me saying any more stupid stuff, Ding has the white pieces, and we get the London. I'm just going to skip through the beginning of the London, just because this shit's boring as hell. But we just get some development. Pretty common for the knight to come here to d2. It does block the bishop, so what actually occurred in this game, I'm going to point out each situation in case you're a new player. But a couple of moves are made in this game that I cannot recommend to new players, because they kind of break like the basic rules that you want to play with as a new learner. And the rule that you're breaking with this move knight to d2 is that you're having to move the same piece twice in an opening before moving another piece. So why I say that is because the bishop is kind of trapped now. It cannot move until the knight moves out of that spot. So obviously at this level, they already have the openings down to a science. You know, they have had engines studying everything for like the first 15 moves, if not more, of almost every game. So obviously, you know, they know this knight will have a good home eventually, but making this move now, where it seems like there's no obvious place to put your knight, is, you know, a bit sketchy. But obviously they know what they're doing. We get takes with the pawn. Queen comes over to c7. We're going to see c3 come out. Bishop is going to come to d7. Bishop is going to come to d3. Knight c6. Castles. Bishop to g4. Very nice pin. Whenever you can, you know, land this pin on either color on the queen, where the bishop has already left its main square, it's going to be good generally. Because if the queen ever moves out, your opponent is going to have doubled pawns, or he just has to use another tempo to move back, pretty much. And you can't kick it out twice as you might be able to in a normal opening, because you're completely leaving your king in danger. Again, that is how games are supposed to be played. This game is going to show you that things go a little differently at the top level. We get rook coming over to e1, just putting pressure on the king. Avoids that pressure with a quick e6. It's no problem closing this off because the bishop has already left its home, and now it's on g4, which means that it's likely going to be traded for this knight at the right time. Knight remaneuvers, so remember how I said that knight will find a home? Well, it found its home, you know, once the rook moved. So kind of playing Tetris, you know, moving certain pieces to get other ones to go where you want. Bishop comes over to d6. He's eyeing this square. This does protect it at the moment, but if this knight ever leaves, say it goes to, I'm just giving an example, e3, this can take pretty comfortably, because this can't recapture, because the queen would hang. Bishop comes over to f6, and we get castle. So remember what I was saying when I said that this is not something that you would like to do as a new player? Do not do what Ian just did, because now you're going to get captures. You're going to have doubled pawns for 1, but for 2 you're going to have an exposed king. You know, nothing in the middle protecting it. That's exactly what happens. Knight comes over to g3. Pawn comes to f5, and Ian is actually pretty safe because there's no dark square bishop to take advantage of these squares. Something that you always want to kind of keep an eye out, and this is something even I'm still learning. But the way that these pawns are positioned, you want them to be not lacking in any color. And what that means is that in between the pawns, there is unprotected squares, because pawns obviously can only attack to the side. So these unprotected squares, if white were to have a dark squared bishop and the queen operating on those dark squares, then the king could be particularly vulnerable, and really quickly. We see h3 come out, so now this bishop will be taking the knight. It does not have a way back anymore. Got to recapture with the queen. Knight moves back to e7. Ding notices that all the pressure that's going on is going to be on this side of the board since he made this maneuver with the king. And this knight is not doing anything over here. So we see knight to h5. King moves over. Obviously the reason for that is just to get the rook in here and then put some pressure on the king. And again, like I said, I do not recommend this once you've already castled, but grandmasters play with their own sets of rules. And Ding Liren goes g4. Rook does still pressure. King moves out of the way of the pressure. Knight comes over to g6. Bishop drops back to c2, and that move I do not completely understand, but I guess he doesn't want knight f4 to occur, because maybe he wants the option to move his knight away, whereas if the bishop is here and the knight is here, he can't really move this away, because then it's going to take that, and we're going to have a couple of awkward exchanges, which I believe would favor black. But we get knight to h4. Queen moves over to e3. Rook comes to g6, looking to double, obviously. We get the rook coming to g1 to protect. And then we see f4 played. And you notice that white is kind of losing space pretty quickly. And this move, again, looks a little weird because you leave your rook unprotected, but it's all threat levels, right? So the queen is more important than the rook, obviously, so you could threaten the queen and then not worry about your rook in that particular move. Queen's going to move over. Other queen is going to move over, protecting this knight now. Rook is going to go on the same file as the queen. Queen is going to move all the way over to g5. We're going to see c4, an attempt to kind of break this open. And it works. Rook is one more time being threatened. If the rook doesn't want to be taken, then it has to either go here or here, but he might just sack the exchange. Yep, he does. He prefers to fix his position with the pawns. This bishop is very strong, so if you could trade that off, that's fine. See, he doesn't even want to take it. Okay, so Ian has successfully, I'd say, infiltrated this side of the board. The only piece that is not yet in the game is this rook. Everything else is quite dangerous. And the rook moves over to g8, which the computer does not really like. Queen comes over to c6. Very simple, just targeting this piece, trying to get the queen into a better position while attacking. Bishop has to drop back to b8. And again, the computer did not like that move, but the idea behind it is that it's protected, and you keep the same diagonal that you were wanting pretty much this whole game. Queen comes over to b7, and I think he's going for this f7 pawn because there's nothing else that he can really target. Maybe he's trying to pick off b4, but again, this is kind of away from the action right now, so it's kind of dangerous to start trying to take pawns on the other side of the board. Rook moves over to h6. Bishop comes to e4. Rook comes to f8. And the computer does not seem to like most of these moves that are being played. Players are trying to maneuver a very tactical and positional position all at once. And it's very hard to do. So they must both be out of theory already for a little bit, because otherwise they would not be playing suboptimal moves. The queen takes the pawn on b4. He thinks he's safe to do so. He's also threatening the rook now. So the queen has to drop back and defend. And he no longer has that same attacking edge that he earlier had. And he is down a pawn. Queen comes over to c3. And now he's threatening to play d5 at any moment, which will force the king here. And then you just have a checkmate. So obviously you have to defend against that. We see a knight to g6. Still, move could still be played. In this situation, it doesn't work just yet because you have like a f6 or a e5 to stop that. But in the future, it is possible. Bishop moves over to g2. That I don't understand. I would think that you would probably take that. Unless you're afraid of taking this way and then the pawn is protected by the rook. I'm not sure. Queen comes over to h4. Rook comes to e2. And we see f5, the critical blunder of the game. So now this move is more possible than it was before. But also, you just left an important pawn hanging. And then this move cannot be played anymore. So Ding obviously takes that pawn. There's no threat here from the queen anywhere. Everything is protected. Well, this pawn isn't protected, but it doesn't give him anything except for a pawn. And Ding Liren is a lot faster with his attack. Alright, he tries taking the knight. Takes back. Queen takes. We get check on the board. King moves over to g8. d6, and then Nepo resigned. And the reason as to why he resigned is because he is actually down a substantial amount of material now. His king is not at all safe. His queen is doing absolutely nothing. His bishop is locked out of the game. His knight is forced to play defense because otherwise you have other mating threats coming from g1. So pretty much nothing is working out. And kind of that cherry on top is that you have a pass pawn that's being threatened right now. Yeah, even the computer has seen like a calculation towards checkmate, a couple of them. So yeah, the game is, or the match is all tied up now. It's 6-6 now, I believe. And yeah, that was crazy. Both sides were winning at some point, but it looked like Ian kind of made like a crazy move at the end. This f5 move right here really gave up the position. Excuse me. Because you didn't have a whole lot of defense against this threat to begin with the knight and the queen. So getting rid of one of your best defenders, and a pawn in the process is just awful. But yeah, it's tied up, so really anything can happen. I reckon that Ding probably has some momentum coming into this next game, but then again, this also might have been a wake-up call for Ian, who was ahead so much in the match, all these games, that maybe he hasn't been playing to his full potential either. But yeah, that was this game. Hope you guys enjoyed, and it's actually 1 a.m., so the next game I think starts soon if there's a game. FIDE World Championship schedule. I want to see if there's a game. What's today? It's the 27th now. So yep, we will get a game today. For me, I'm Eastern, so it's 5 a.m., 2 a.m. Pacific. Or if you guys in Europe, figure that shit out, because I have no clue when you're going to be watching. But yeah, 4 hours away we get the next game. So excited to see how the players do. But thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed.